Welcome to the Human Being Unleashed podcast, where we redefine, realign, and reimagine what it means to be human so that you can live a life with the health, wealth, and relationships that are inherently yours. Have you ever felt like you've had a lot of potential to do great things? Have you ever felt like you have a lot of potential? And when I say a lot, I mean a lot of potential to do great things, but sometimes you just lack the discipline to follow through and do everything that you say. Maybe you're just dropping your commitments and you're just not keeping your promises to yourself. Well, I'm about to share with you a very quick story on why that happens and how you can get rid of this. Very interesting. I had a client who was a very accomplished individual by his young age of 24. He had a thriving career, brand new home, rental properties, good relationship, good friendships. I mean, things were going pretty great for his age, but he had one nagging issue. He was unorganized, and he always found himself late to certain commitments and meetings and, just certain things like that. And he had a lot of trouble just managing his time and completing every priority that he said he was going to complete. In other words, he struggled keeping promises to himself. And if you've ever struggled with keeping promises to yourself and dropped the ball after time and time after again, then you know that has a real impact on your confidence towards yourself, because you start to trust yourself less and less and less. And then before you know it, you just go on this rabbit hole of insecurities because you can't trust yourself. So in the same exact case for my client, he started really noticing this was knocking his confidence, and it was making him very angry towards himself. And again, he was getting in his own way, and he knew it. This is probably the most frustrating thing, is getting in your own way and knowing that you're getting in your own way. So we ended up using the neuro remapping method to trace his behavior pattern down to its root cause. And this is what happened. So interesting. He went back to a memory where he was about 8 years old, and he was walking into his classroom late. He was about like a little bit under an hour late to class. And he was 8 years old. He walked inside and he smiled, and I noticed he was smiling. So I was like, how do you feel? He said, it feels really good. Like, I feel good. I feel happy. I like this. I said, you like this? What's this? He goes, late. I like being late. I got really curious. I leaned in, and I was like, why do you like being late so much? And then he said, because when you're late, everybody looks at you. You get noticed and you get acknowledged. So, more curious, I asked him, do you feel like you're acknowledged at 8 years old? And he goes, no, I don't. And his shoulders drop. And all of a sudden, he goes from smiling and being really happy and joyful to heavy and a little sad. And if you see what I'm seeing here, we're following his behavior pattern down to the thinking process behind it. Okay, that's all we're doing. And so at this point, I wanted to see why he didn't feel acknowledged. I was like, well, it's interesting that you say you don't feel acknowledged. Let's see what's causing that. So I ended up directing his mind to show us a memory connected to the feeling of not being acknowledged. And when you're in a trance, when I'm working with clients in a theta brainwave, your subconscious mind communicates very easily through pictures, through memories. So I just said, you can just say, hey, we're feeling this way. Show me why. And this time he went back to a memory where he was 5 years old, and his older brother was picking him up from school to walk him home. His mom always picked him up and walked him home because they lived in walking distance, a couple of blocks. But on this particular day, his mom had to work late, so the brother had to go. And so the brother had to meet him at school to walk him home. and he was not happy about it. He actually got really angry, and he told my client, as a 5-year-old kid, he said, "Thanks for being an inconvenience. Why can't you just walk yourself home? You're big enough." And when he said that statement, my client in that moment interpreted that moment and made it mean, "Oh, I'm not important." This belief that he was not important created this emotional impetus, this emotional conflict that he did not face directly. So over time, it led to these very two specific behavior patterns. Number one was not planning ahead or organizing because, as he said, "I don't feel important enough to be great." And number two, being late. And he was being late all the time because it gave him a sense of significance. This demonstrates a very, very important thing. Number one is that human beings have internal needs, like the need to feel significant. And when they're not met, we seek these external ways to fill them, which is never going to work, always creating this external conflict, like what my client was dealing with. And then it also goes to show that self-sabotaging behavior is typically just a form of protection. In this case, my client was doing it because it protected him from feeling what he felt at 5 years old. In other words, it gave him the feeling of being significant. He lacked a sense of significance within himself. So he created these behavior patterns to meet those needs, which ultimately just held him back and kept him stuck. And like he said, "I was mentally lazy." And since he became aware of this, he's literally had no trouble letting it go using our remapping technique, which is basically a way of repatterning the neural pathways by reframing the memory of a past event. It's extremely simple, but very impactful, and I use it with all of my clients. He was then able to see immediate results following our session. He said he had the best sales week 2 weeks in a row after his entire team, and he's been on time to everything. And he said, I just never been this punctual in my life, and I'm actually getting in all of my workouts," because he works a lot, but that was a big reason. Well, that was an excuse as to why he wasn't going to the gym, but he was like, "And I'm hitting all of my workouts, and I'm still getting all my work done," and he's getting more results. Better results out of his work. So what I want you to see here is that this gave him not only great results in his life, but it gave him a profound insight into his own reasoning for his way of being, which in itself is a liberating experience. When you feel whole, there is no need to sabotage your success. When you feel whole, you will be naturally you. You will naturally be who you need to be and do the things you need to do when you feel complete within yourself. And you're the only one who can complete yourself and make yourself feel whole. And that is really exactly what we do. That's really what the neurohack experience is all about. So if you, like my client, have something that's holding you back, whether it be a mental and emotional conflict, a fear and anxiety that is limiting your performance in your growth and your success in your business and your personal life right now, then I guarantee to help you eliminate that in 1 or 2 sessions, no more than 2, or if I can't, I'll just give you all your money back. Fair enough? All right, awesome. Now, let me leave you with this. One day I was leaving to go to my cousin's house, and my business partner, Nikki, she messaged me and she said, "Adrian, I really think you should be careful when I really want you to be careful when you're driving tonight." She's never told me that. And she even said, "I don't even know why I'm saying this, but I just need to." I was like, okay. And if you know Nikki, you know that woman is in tune. Like, I can't hide anything from her. She's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "What? I'm fine." She's like, "Adrian." I'm like, God. And so I knew how intuitive she was. So I was like, okay, I'm going to take what she said into serious consideration. And then later that night, I'm leaving my cousin's house, and I'm about 10 minutes away from my house. It's a little bit after midnight. And as I'm driving, all of a sudden, that memory of Nikki saying, "Adrian, be careful when you're driving tonight," just flashed into my mind. And then my entire body just screamed, Adrian, stop, stop. And so I slowed my car down. I was going like maybe 50, 55 miles an hour. And I slowed my car down. And I went down to maybe like 25, 30 miles an hour. And as I was approaching this green light, as I approached the green light, these two cars ran the red light. And if I was still going 50 miles an hour, 50 to 55 miles an hour, I definitely would have been in their way. And I more than likely would not be recording this podcast for you right now. Now, why am I telling you this? Because life happens for you when you just listen to what's going on within you and get out of the way.